Hi everyone, welcome to Binah Says. I'm your host, Sabrina, and on this week's episode we have the magnificent, the radiant Vilina Malka joining us. Welcome, Vilina. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me in this new studio space. How exciting.
Yes. Wow. So I've been meaning to sit down with you for a while now, and I'm so excited to finally be here because I know that we, number one, study Kabbalah together. And we're in the same, spiritual communities. We see each other at many events. And so I wanted to sit down with you and just reveal your wisdom to the world, learn about your upbringing and all the gifts that you are sharing with the world now. So how does that sound?
I'm in. Let's go deep. Let's go in. Let's share. Let's see what comes through. We didn't even prepare anything. So this is like, we're just going to conduit in and see what wants to be revealed to the people listening.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so where should we start? You are a healer, a ceremonialist, an oracle, an artist. I know these are all just words. But yeah, where should we begin?
First of all, if you don't know Sabrina and you haven't looked in these eyes, they're incredible. Just really beautiful presence and eyes. And so thank you for having me. We've been weaving and connecting a lot, and I was thinking about what we would share and really, I want it to be from as much of the heart and just like personal connection as we can make it to also reach people that want to know this information. I have many names even. Vilina Malka is my, we'll call it my artist name. And then Melanie Abramov is my birth name.
Wow.
And there's so many facets because especially as women, we do so many things. And then it's structuring and organizing how we can bring that into the physical from the metaphysical, which has been a really big learning for me, right? How do you take all of this and package it into something where not only is it something in my life, but it's something I can share and like offer, and there's like an understanding. Where at one point I think I was speaking, we'll call it, too spiritual or light language, or it wasn't understood, and now really bringing it in a way that can be shared. So it's like she of 1,000 names and 1,000 faces, right? That's what women are. That's what we do. That's how we hold and carry. And I would say, just not to go into the larger story, but what I feel really grateful for, and just in the last days, just reflecting, and we've had some beautiful events in the last days with our community, is being free and being sovereign and what it took to get here and what that means. And most of the people I work with clients and friends and facilitation and community, you can't buy that, the value of that. And to get there requires so much effort in terms of like the work, the trust, the certainty, the releasing, the detachment, to find that place of doing exactly what brings you the highest joy and the path to connect to the Creator's light, but also understand your unique mission and blueprint, right? Like, why are you here? And not to compare to anyone else. And so this journey of freedom, sovereignty, and a deep connection with myself, with Creator, with the earth has taken years, right? To find that, because that's not necessarily an option that you get when you grow up, specifically in a city or in a system that is very structured or asks you to be something. So I would say, to preface everything, what I'd love to maybe talk more about, right, is like, what does that look like? What does that mean? How do you get there? And this is a lot of what I want to bring, is showing this other option of coming home to yourself and your soul and allowing that to be 100% what you do every day.
Wow. What a start. Thank you for that. I got emotional with you even talking about this, because similarly, I feel like I'm in a place in life right now where I'm finally listening to the screams of my soul, as I call it. And it feels incredible. I finally feel alive. I thought I was alive before, but this is truly living. And I think, at first it can be something gradual. There's obviously things, as you said, identities, boxes, mainstream culture that is kind of forcing us to do one thing or for certain reasons. And then once you kind of relinquish that and find this freedom that your soul is craving, it completely opens you up to reveal your gifts with the world, which is what we're all meant to be doing. So the question is, how can we get more people to tap into that?
Yes.
And realize that's even a possibility? And yeah, it's emotional, because I think that when every soul realizes their divinity and the connectedness of all of our souls, that is essentially heaven on earth.
Yes.
And I can't wait for that moment. That's a moment that I think I'm praying for every day, for every soul to recognize its own divinity and to see the divinity in each and every other soul.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
Exactly. Like, this is why we're here. And I would say on a mission level, what I choose to spend my time doing and connecting and everything that I'm investing energy into is to support consciousness in expanding our light body, our vessel, our capacity to hold more light, because essentially that is our growth into, we'll call it this new frequency that's not new, it's already here, to meet the frequency of this, creator's light. The grid on the earth is shifting. It's been shifting for many years, but it's shifting in a different place, and we can call it heaven on earth is being revealed. But to meet it and to see, we'll say it's almost like an overlay, right? Like we're here in this 3D reality, and there's like an overlayer that already exists, many of them. But to see it and to meet it, we have to meet it in its frequency, in its light, in its awareness, and unveil it. And that requires a lot, right? Like, how do we get there? So supporting people in knowing that it even exists, and then trusting it enough to say, well, I want to learn more about it. Like, what does that even mean? What does it mean to meet there? And one part on a physical level, there's many levels, right? And like our Merkaba, our light spirit body, the chariot of ascension of who we are and how we elevate. One part is the temple, like our physical temple. And a lot of my journey in coming back into this awareness and the soul, which is what we're talking about, this freedom, is understanding. I just lost my train of thought. Come back. So part of that understanding of what I needed to do was cleaning the temple. So there isn't like a one, like come to this training or this course or do this one thing or come to this speaker. This is a lifestyle, and that lifestyle starts with cleansing ourselves, and that will start both spiritually and physically, but everything. I used to drink and do drugs and eat whatever I wanted and just kind of be in the enjoyment of some of the densities, which is also fun. Like, I got to enjoy life and understand that I really needed a deeper route of healing. But because I was stuck in this kind of beautiful, also like so many things that I learned, but stuck in a sort of construct, there were ways that I was finding my way needing healing. And that's what I resorted to, because I didn't understand another way. I didn't really know where to go. And there's so many modalities, but really the larger process for me started when my temple was clean. And what does that mean is that I stopped drinking. I went into nature. I did a silent retreat. I starting to eat clean. I started to clear my thoughts, my mind, technology, and just like coming back to the center of the center of the center of the heart. When we're remembering, we're also releasing, so we're making space, right? And so we're cleansing the temple, this like 360 of like who we are, our mind, our thought, our pattern, the water that we're drinking, the food we're ingesting, the people we're around, the environment. We can start to come back home. And that's the first process in this, we'll call it this finding the sovereignty, the spiritual path, the freedom, the understanding of who we are without judgment, but just really seeing like who we are, to understand what is our gift, what is our mission, what is the uniqueness that I bring versus you and everyone else. And to find that it's sometimes we know from a very young age, but it might get distilled or compared, or maybe we just lost that path. We've renavigated. We needed to learn other lessons. So the first part really for me was cleaning the vessel and the physical temple so that my channel can open and that I can be a conduit, that I can receive, that I can step out of my way and allow the information, the guidance, the wisdom, the inner feminine that was so much in her masculine in the city, for that feminine to come and be like, whoa, okay, this is what it feels like to be in flow and creative and moving and allowing and trusting, and things are, mycelium is connecting and things are just showing up and like, oh my God, there's magic. And what is that? So all of that is part of the process. I just want to let you share because I feel like I'm going on and
Everything you said, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I think something that you touched upon that I recall having a realization was that I have a soul. And I think that came to me only 2-ish years ago in a yoga class when I realized that I'm more than just this physical body. And that opened me up to understand, what is consciousness, and took me down the path of studying yoga, studying Kabbalah, and now we're sitting here today. And it's been a beautiful journey just to connect to your true essence, right? Because I think at some point we all start asking ourselves what our purpose is and why we're here. And the answer is not a physical answer. It's not, to look younger or to have a certain number in your bank account or, to be outputting something. It's really something esoteric, but so beautiful, and I believe that is just to reveal your unique light and share your gifts with the world. So that was one point that I love that you spoke about. And the other was this divine feminine, which I think, at least for me and in general, I think women are not tapping into enough in this very masculine society that we live in, where things like status and title and pay are always discussed. And that's something that I'm still working on. We need to open the channel more for women to tap into that femininity, and also for men, because we have both aspects. And so that's been a beautiful journey. And we recently did a Blue Lotus tea ceremony together. And I've been doing other type of just like creative movement, breath work type classes that really allow you to access that divinity. The cleaning of the temple is big. And I went through a similar process, with drinking at a younger age, realizing it wasn't serving this vessel, and having to decide, for yourself what actually makes you feel good, even though it's not what your friends are doing. And it's hard. It's not easy. But like you said, it's a lifetime of work. And slowly, when you start building the temple on the inside, the temple, you feel the temple all around you. So I think that's so important for people to recognize that their life is sacred. And I truly believe that. And we are a temple, starting, like you said, with our thoughts, what we, put into our vessel, what we share, the words that we share with others. Everything is holy. Everything is sacred. How we clothe ourselves is also, part of our holiness and the sacredness of our temple. And when you start to live like this, at least right now, I feel like my whole life is a ceremony.
Yeah.
And
yes,
it's beautiful.
Every day is a ceremony. When we say the inner feminine, that's for both men and women, and the inner masculine, both for men and women. It needs to be harmonized for all of us. And also women to really understand their new role in this timeline. And it's not the feminist anymore, it's the feminine. And it's the deep listening, and it's also showing the new way, and then allowing, the refined, like divine masculine to hold, to lead in different ways, and to also support the feminine. It's a whole shift in a movement, and it's slower than maybe it wants to be, but there's a lot of shadow work and depth and like triggers and trauma and layers and lineage, and so much is happening. So at the same time as a spiritual uprising, there's also a war right now on consciousness, in the physical war, but also in the spiritual realm of, trying to suppress the light, the awakening that's happening, because more people are cleansing and more people are understanding who they are and their mission. And it's like pushing it down and pushing it down. And so we are in that place where we have to support one another in knowing that there is another way. We're building that. There are pioneers that are doing that. Even in all of the businesses, and they're blissnesses, they're not even businesses, because it's such a joy to create in the way that I do.
Wait, did you come up with this term?
Me and a few friends, yeah.
Blissness?
Yeah, we're doing blissness, and we're creating. I just took away the work word and like invited more play, because I love what I do. So it doesn't feel like a task that is taking energy. It's like I'm enjoying so much. So it's like blissness and creation and being a creatrix. And if we can shift that, right, that it's so much more fun. Like, what are our gifts that we want to bring? And even the way that I create with Sesson Temple, the Blue Lotus, and retreats that we'll talk about, and Gaia Codex, this series for film, and, personal work that I do. We listen. We don't just make decisions because it's like, okay, here's a deadline. We create. Time isn't real. We are creating time, structure, deadlines, all of it. And if we can stop and listen, like, does this really want to happen? Does something need to shift? Am I looking at it wrong? Can we counsel? There are more councils that are being created right now for me, I'm a woman, so we have women's councils and circles that look at something and say, is this what really wants to happen? Is there another guidance? Are we missing something? Can we all tune in? Can we see if maybe we need to reroute? So there's an urgency, but it comes with a deep precision of like knowing really what wants to happen versus just like doing it because it's rushed and I feel forced to do something. That it's coming because yes, it's like a full yes, and it wants to happen. And like now we're going to go in with like the aligned precision, conscious action, right? This is the year of the horse. So it's like everything is burning down and lifting up again, but it has to be done with that precision, not just like we're running to run wherever. So that's what I'm noticing is happening right now.
And how did this spiritual path start for you? How did your journey with all of this begin? Take me back to that point in your life.
So many lives in this lifetime, and each one of them has been such an important pillar, and I know why they've all happened. Growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I grew up actually by the beach in Brighton Beach, Coney Island, where all the Russian Jews were at the time. And I've always been an artist. I've always been a creator. I've always been a little different. I've always kind of had this like part of me that didn't know how to find my exact place, but I made it work. And I had an incredible journey through, I've always been on the spiritual path, we can say, or this, always had existential crises or wanting to know more and like just wanting to go deep. And that brought me the excitement, right? With partnerships with friends. Like, I just want to go deep. I want to go in. Like, I don't want to be surface. And I worked in the corporate world, but in a creative space. I worked at Ralph Lauren for 10 years. I was head of our video department. I was an editor and director, and then went more into creative production and was in this whole, the scene. And there's a lot of like juicy things from it, and finance and abundance and learning and production and teachings that I now get to use a lot of those tools as leadership and having teams to build into the new things that I'm building. So it was really important, but I knew that it wasn't the end. Like, I got to a place of my career that felt like I made it, like I've spent all these years, and I went to Parsons, and I, was always working, and it's like, but something's off, and it just doesn't feel like my creative expression wants more. And how do I leave this system? like, what is the other way? You know, how do you, like, I kind of can feel it, but how do I get there?
How long ago was this when you started asking yourself, how do you escape the system?
Yeah, it was like in my 30s was more of like, you know, like I went to my first silent retreat in 2017, and
Where was that?
that was in Costa Rica. And it was really, I was meant to go even like years before, but everyone was like, you're going to go sit in silence and that's what you're going to do for your time. I'm like, yes, that's what I need right now.
How many days?
It was a 10-day silent retreat, but I was there for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it was the first time that I just felt like I was back. And I was shown something that I was yearning and craving deep within my soul and with my body. And I was like, this is the way, and I need to just follow this, and something's going to open. And I would say I've always been deeply connected, but in terms of my channel, and we'll call the channel like my ability to connect directly to my higher self, to my soul self, to my guides, to creator, was there, but I wasn't trusting in it. You know, like our intuition, it takes so long to really trust, like, what is that whisper? And you ignore it and you ignore it until you really understand and make that relationship. And also, to your point, like, understand that your soul, we're in a human body, but we're a soul. We're not just a body with a soul. We're a soul inside the body, and it's directing us. To get to that level where I understood that she was really wanting to be present in my life, and I had to give her that space, required now cleaning my vessel fully and just listening to, like, okay, I need to do this, and then I'll do this. And then there was some more plant medicine that was involved for the, you know, first time at that point, where I was like, I just need to go into a deeper opening. And that allowed me to also reveal more. And I had done different psychedelics and things when I was younger. I went to raves. I partied hard in high school. In terms of all of that was for spiritual purpose of wanting to connect and go deeper and dance and feel free and, you know, go on these journeys that maybe weren't led in a ceremonial way, but as a teenager, they were just allowed me to be free. And in those moments, I understood that. And then how do you bring that into the world? I couldn't quite understand, like, but what do I do with all this? So once I've done the cleaning, the connection, then the channel began to open, but almost in an overwhelming way, because I had been suppressing it for so long that when it opened, it was just like like, okay, oh, we're on, like, we're online. Like, okay, I'm seeing all these things. It's kind of like you're going through psychosis and nothing makes sense. And you're seeing past lives and future and colors and connections and different realms. And it's information is coming through and it's overwhelming. And at that point I had some energy workers I had already been working with that I just needed, like, oh my God, what's happening right now? And even though I was so much on the spiritual path, I didn't think that it would be me that would be supporting others in that capacity. And once everything opened, I had no more questions. And when I say opened, I mean, you get to touch your soul in a way that you feel, hear, understand, connect fully without the veil, that there is no one that could tell me otherwise in that moment of exactly what I feel and see and hear. Because it's so clear, it's so real when you unveil, you can't go back. There's no way to say, oh, I can just do what I used to do. There's no going back. And so that's actually, for many people, when you start this path, it's kind of like, well, if you're ready, you gotta, like, once you're asked to come and you're asked to jump and give up things and release people in your life. And I released my job, my friends, my current life in the way that I was, and left New York at that point. I gave up everything, but I said yes, because I made a vow to come home, to serve the light, to serve the expansion of humanity. I came back into my galactic self and, like, the angelic order that I'm from and this blueprint that I'm from. And I was like, oh, okay. I need to learn a lot, and like we need to start now, and it needs to be quick because whew, like we're on the fast track. So from there, it was listening, honoring, going so deep that I really lost myself, because now I'm like, I don't even know who I am, which is really what it is. Breakdown, breakthrough, breakdown, breakthrough. And even at this moment, there's not a time really in my life that there isn't a breakdown, breakthrough, and we can say that's like an activation. And I'm always going through an evolution. And when I don't do that, I feel like I'm being too comfortable and complacent. Like, am I really looking at the things I need to look at, and the triggers and the things that are coming up and the shadows, and like, or am I just being too comfortable right now because it feels good? And when you're on this path and you choose it fully and you're committed, for me, the bridging work that I do is also part of the priestess work. And I don't want to go so much into that word because I think it has many uses right now, and maybe it's being overused. It's a dedication to service of the earth, to the rituals, to the knowing, to the knowledge, to bringing back that, it's not even indigenous wisdom, it's past, present, future. It's wisdom from the ages, from different civilizations, that is a remembrance, that's bridging, that's supporting, and allowing that to come to fruition here in whichever way it needs with our unique gifts.
I love that. I think, especially with what's going on now as consciousness is evolving, and, just observing this material world, and, for example, the use of AI and everything. I had this download, and the thought came to me, well, what if the future is going backwards? Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned like this ancient tribal wisdom, and that's something that I've been wanting to go deeper towards. And I think Kabbalah has brought me some depth in that. But I asked myself, am I truly living the life that my soul desires to live? And she wants to live as close to nature as possible, as close to community and like-minded souls as possible, in music, in song, in ceremony, free. Like you said, she wants to be free. She wants to dance. She wants to express herself.
As the conduit, right? Because you are all of it in this divinity. And this is actually what we're talking about. This soul expression or soul language is moving through that. And I know you started singing as well, and I'm singing. And when the voice and the frequency moves through us, and this is actually a great point, this is the healing medicine and vibration when it comes from that soul place. When the movement, when the sound, when our arts, right, come to life, not from a place of trying to be anything, but just doing it, like this devotional art, right? I know you're a devotional singer. That frequency, when you feel your whole cellular being just light up, and also not only in your own cellular being, but for everyone else to, when you look at sound and science and resonance, it's an art, it's ancient. There's nothing woo-woo about it. I mean, it's proven in so many ways that it heals diseases, just the sound frequency. But this part also is like allowing ourselves to be closer to our soul and being that conduit, right?
Mm-hmm. I think, so I started using my voice, again, only 2.5 years ago. And it was something I always told myself I wanted to do, or I wish I had done at an earlier age. And when I started playing the harmonium in my yoga practice, my voice completely opened up. And to see where I am now, 2 years later, and I feel so comfortable using my voice, and not even caring what she sounds like, because I think that's something that people have, this shame and this fear, that they have this expectation around what their voice should sound like, and that it's not worthy enough to share if it doesn't meet this expectation. And, we were together on my birthday when I hosted this song circle at my house. And, it really is about, as I said to everyone, using your voice no matter what it sounds like, because we are the instrument, we are the channel, we're the vessel for light to be revealed through us. And our voice is one of the main conduits. And I think more people need to know this. They need to feel that freedom to sing, to use their voice, to make sound. At your ceremony, I remember Katie, we can talk forever about Katie, but she was drumming in the ceremony and also helping guide the ceremony. She was able to make noises and sounds that when it was call and response, I couldn't do. And I was excited to be able to unlock more levels of my voice, but I heard that voice inside saying, you can't repeat what she's saying. And I tried it, I tried to my best ability, but there's so much we're meant to unlock just through the channel of our voice and through sound.
And, most women, men and women, but I would say a lot of the women I've met that are like, wow, you sing, like, most of us have our voice blocked. And it's not just from this lifetime. I would say in general, opening the channel is unlocking and unblocking a lot of our ancestral and past life trauma. That something, a lot of people have had their throat cut, or they've been killed, or they've been silenced, especially women that had power in terms of their oracleness or their intuitiveness, or they were healers or singers. A lot of women have this voice suppression. It's quite common. I didn't also sing until maybe 5-6 years ago. I just started trying and seeing what it sounded like. And it's not about being a good singer. It's actually about being an authentic singer, because if it sounds really good, but it's not coming from the heart, it doesn't penetrate, because you kind of feel like, oh, it's a nice voice, but I didn't feel alive or connected from it. But if someone even has we'll call it maybe not practically a beautiful voice, right, in societal norm, but they're singing from their soul, that frequency does move you without it being traditionally beautiful. And I'm actually teaching, it's starting next week, a light language course training where we go through soul language, singing, speaking, drawing, moving. But to do that, we also need to start with the unblocking first, because you don't really get to that place unless you're safe, unless your nervous system is okay and regulated, unless you feel like you can open in that container and be seen. So there's a lot that has to happen before you open, right? To just be just sing. I mean, there's, as you know, right, as I know, there are many stages you have to go to open your creative expression. And that might be different for everyone, whether it's drawing or dancing or singing or speaking or playing an instrument. It does require a level of unblocking. And I know we talked about this, the records, the Akashic, a lot of that, the work that I do with individuals and groups it's called soul attunement, Akashic soul attunement work. And what does that mean is going through all of the different nonlinear past, present, future, because they're not past, present, future. They're all happening now. We call them that because it's supportive for our human mind to place things here and there and here. But realistically, anything we do can adjust something from, we'll call it the past or the future timelines. When we do a healing with our ancestral lineage, they're feeling that throughout their own lifetimes in eternal places, right? It's moving, it's a web, it's expanding. So anything that we do, and even if we work on our inner child at a particular moment in her life, right, that is a trauma, that ripples through and that starts to change almost the DNA of our body, or cellular, muscles and tissues, can move. So this work of, one, not everyone is in a place to say I have a soul, and that there's anything other than I am born, I do my thing, I die, and that's it, and there's no God. And that's okay too. But for people that are willing to be okay, who am I, and what does it mean, and what is this past or future, and what is it, why? Most of the things that we move with, when we come into this life, is we have ancestral trauma and lineage, karmic things that need to be cleared. All of us. That's why war is happening. It's recycled trauma that's just looping over and over and over until someone breaks it. And so when we now, right, everyone who's here, who's chose to be here at this very particular time on the planet, we're saying, yes, we're here to cut that, to break that loop, to break that cycle, to have the awareness, to do the work, to go in the underworld, to go on the upper world, to understand, to support ourselves. And when we say past life and ancestral, sometimes that's the same, because our past lives can be our ancestral lives, right? We could be our great grandmother or whoever. Like we work in soul teams. So a lot of times when we come through the different multiverses of this world, we come in soul teams. So like, for instance, I know my mom and I've been her daughter, her husband, her sister. Like, I feel like she's always been somewhat part of my soul family. And there are few people I feel like that I meet that are that. And you start to meet them, especially when you say yes to this journey. There's a recognition like, we have something to do together. There's a mission here. And it's not necessarily about understanding it. Like, oh, my mind has to make sense of this. But you can feel it if you choose to just feel it and let go. Even the singing, you can't think too much about it. It just has to, like, sing for no reason, laugh for no reason, love for no reason. It just has to come. And so the past life work is not so much about storytelling, but it's seeing what part of us is unresolved in those timelines or needs to be reactivated so that we can have all of the tools that we need right now from wherever they need to come from. Like, how do I bring every part of me back, all of my soul fragments, all of my power, all of my arsenal that I'm working with that needs to be reactivated? But that only happens the more that we cleanse. So like, the more I release the layers, I'm like, oh, okay, now this new thing can come in because I've just like made space for it. And my blueprint, my pattern is ready. And this library of the Akashic, this like database of all consciousness, our library holds all of that. And we can even say that Akashic is water. All of the water on our planet, the water molecule holds the Akashic records. You know, the ocean and the whales and the dolphins, I mean, they're holding, my gosh, so much, thousands of years of the records through their sonic frequency and every molecule. And so this larger expanded state, right? It's like all around us.
So I remember when I used to hear this kind of language and talk and didn't believe any of it. What would you say to someone that is thinking, you know, this way?
I would say, for me, none of this in terms of this path can be forced, or you could tell someone that they should or can, or what it is a curiosity. So if there's a part of you, that's looking to go deeper and more and doesn't understand, the only thing stopping you, right, is that blockage of, I need to see it to believe it. And what we're asked to do is to believe it, and then we see it. And are you willing to break everything that you believe down as truth and say, none of this is real anymore? Because that's really difficult. And that's also the ego. It's like, no, but I know this is this, and 2 + 2 is this, and this exists like this, and that's how it is. That's the world. Are you willing to say, I don't know anything, and this is all wrong. It was right in that moment, but I'm willing to open up and make space to be wrong and to be shown something new. And I'm willing to allow new information to come to me because I'm curious, and miracles will come to start to show you that you can move in that direction. But there has to be a willingness to break that initial armor of like the ego, right? Of this is how it is. And usually that's because if you break it one thing down, the domino, you're going to break down all the other thoughts and concepts that you thought you believe at that moment are real. And now you have to start, you're like a baby, right? That's scary for most people. So there's no push, but it's going to happen to all of us anyway. Why? Because the new time is coming. The time is now. change is happening now. The awakening is now. The solar flares, the Mashiach consciousness, the Christ consciousness, the new earth, the death, whatever you want to call it, it's happening. So regardless if people want to or not, do you want to do it willingly with compassion and have the time to engage? Or do you want it to be a really rough kind of opening? Or do you want to move forward at all? And some people are comfortable. You can't wake anyone who's sleeping, but you can certainly, the people that are slowly rising and are curious, you can offer them a way and say, well, if you're curious, come, and offer them that opportunity, right? What do you think?
I agree. I mean, I think for me personally, there's always been this openness and this curiosity. And I remember sitting in my first Kabbalah class and hearing, concepts like we are living in the 1% reality, and there's a whole 99% of reality that we don't see in this physical world that exists and that we can access through our consciousness. And, I was at the time sitting there just open to the possibility that that was true. And then throughout this journey, things have confirmed one after the other, everything that I've, been studying and learning. And, I remember because I experienced it. Exactly. It goes from something that you hear to something that you experience. And, something like the moon. I remember I was never into astrology or cosmology. Is this the term, cosmology?
Yeah.
And then finally, the concept of the moon controlling the tides and having effect on water, and we are 90-something% water. That, call it scientific evidence, for me was the amount that I needed to then open me up even further to understanding where the planets are at my birth, where they are now, what is the cycle that my soul is in. So I think it starts with that openness and that curiosity, and then little by little, that opening opens even more, and you begin to learn far beyond you even imagine, and then things happen in your existence that confirm or deny it. Another good example that I like, when you meet someone in this world, in this lifetime, you feel like you've known each other for far longer than the moment you met them. And so that is proof to me that, as you said, we have this soul family. And I do believe that the soul comes back to this life in reincarnation, which is something that I never thought of before studying Kabbalah. That feeling that I have meeting someone and knowing that it's not the first time we've met is also like a confirmation for me that I'm connected to my soul, that I'm connected to other souls, that this is not the only reality that there is.
There's always the right person that opens for you, right? Because people are drawn. There are other beings that are awakened that maybe teach with more science and practical logic. And maybe people are drawn to that way of opening because there's more proof and, oh, okay, yeah, that means that and that works. And this is cellular healing and the waters and, and then some people just are experiential. For me, it was, I had the experience and then it's undeniable. But to get to having the experience means you have to be open enough to allow the receiving of that experience and then the belief in, without dogma, God, the creator, in whichever way that you choose to connect to the light of God, to the light of creator, to the creatress, to the goddess, that belief. And that's what's, missing a lot in our world today is people have lost that deep belief because they're scared of it being dogmatic and it's actually not about that, but there are tools in a lot of these ancient lineages and religions and spiritual practices and Kabbalahs we study, or the Vedic practices or the Sufi practices. And there's so many, the Taoist practices, there's so many practices that are thousands of years old that are actually being reused and even in science, but they're not even understanding that it was already there, right? And so there's how people can be reached is either experience or you just have that moment where you're like, oh, someone said something and it just like, I felt it. But it's happening anyway. This is why we're here, and that there are people I've spoke to that have never like experienced love, right? Or they might have all of the wealth and all of the things, but they actually like never experience love. And that truly breaks my heart, because love is why we're here. It's literally why we're here. Love and pain are the same thing, but love is what we're here to experience. And if we're too scared to let love in because there's a fear of being hurt, or, a fear overall, that fear is what stops us. And the avoidance is what stops us. But when we just are able to go and step in and like look at ourselves and just be the mirrors, and everyone is a mirror. So we're just like, I look at you and it's like a part of me is like we're mirroring each other and our experiences. There's so many similarities. They're all stories, but we're just here to walk each other home. Mm-hmm. We're here to remember. We're here to bring each other back. We're also here to have fun. Like, it's not meant to be so serious. And I have to remind myself that, because sometimes it's like, oh, we got to do the thing and the work. So I don't even love that word, because it's like we got to play and also take responsibility, take ownership, support others. But it's humbleness and the humility of just being alive in the magic of this earth and supporting her. I mean, this planet holds us so deeply, and wow, in such awe of this planet that holds us while we figure out this super complicated human process, when it's actually quite simple, but we just can't see it that way because we love the drama and the complication. So if we can just like get into just the joy and the fun of all of this, and make it play, and also like take us out of that seriousness, which I get serious, so I have to just take myself out of it, and the love, and move each other in that frequency. Because when you see someone in that high frequency, you're like, wow, like what's going on? Like they're just, what is that? That is called, I'm vibrating at a high frequency without density, and I'm not attached to anything. And I'm pouring love into you, and I'm pouring love into the room. And the more that we do that, people will experience and be curious. And, we each have our different missions. And you're such a weaver and connector. Like, I know, part of your mission is, one of the people in your life was like, I asked, what do you love about Sabrina? And he's like, she's got chutzpah. Like, she just goes, she's like in, and like the way that you create space and community and bring people in, and even have like this, this podcast and network and weave, and the way that you bring into community your song, your sound, while you're experiencing it and upgrading and opening yourself, you're inviting everyone to be there with you, versus waiting for some type of mastery, because that mastery is not something we can wait for. That mastery happens because we're doing it, right?
We cannot wait for mastery. This is key, and it's something that I had to learn the hard way. And I think that when we do learn it, then we start to tap into the fun and the joy of just trying and making mistakes. Like, I used to, be afraid to make mistakes, or afraid to start something and it not be successful. But this podcast is like one of my proofs that I have to listen to what my soul is saying to create and to do, whether or not it, lives up to anyone else's measure of success, because only my measure of success is important. We touched a little bit on like comparison, which is, I think, something so important for our soul, not to compare our own process and journey to any other souls, because that's the key to stopping the flow of light into this vessel. And sometimes I will catch myself and I just say, nope, not today. Goodbye.
Not today. Today's not the day. I'm going to be me.
Yeah. So I think that was a crucial lesson that I had to learn before I could step into what I'm saying is this power that I feel that I am relinquishing now. And I think that we're all meant to experience.
This is so beautifully said. And that is the takeaway. It's the non-comparison, that we can be allies for each other and support and network, men and women in all the circles, that we understand everyone's true gift and we can amplify it, learn from it, and also allow ourselves to be inspired to go into our own versus comparing it to anyone else. I've had to do the same. And so I'm just really honoring you, and you're just sharing and allowing that expression fully without, again, like you're mastering it by doing it and not comparing and just being yourself. And that alone is very inspiring.
Thank you. Talk to me about what you're doing in this physical world to help people come back into harmony with their soul, to learn this. What are your offerings that people can tap into?
Yes, thank you. So I work with the Blue Lotus, with Sesson Temple, our collective, and part of that is to spread this beautiful consciousness of the lotus flower, lily. And why this is important is because the lotus right now, we're regenerating her back into the world, back into the earth in Egypt and Nicaragua. And it's allowing people to, one, access this very ancient medicine that's literally on every hieroglyph and wall, and it's been used for thousands of years. Coming back into this medicine that brings us into wisdom, nervous system relaxation, lucid dreaming. But she herself, when she rises, and this is a prophecy, when she rises again, the divine feminine rises around the world. So part of that mission is reinstating the balance of masculine and feminine. So we're working with the T, but we're also supporting with retreats, transformational work, pilgrimages, education, different tools and trainings, depending on what level you are. So we'll say level 1 is like the cleaning the temple. Level 2 is like actually expanding the vessel and the light body, learning more, going deeper into some of the practices, the geometry. Sacred geometry is something I almost like to use the word religion. Like sacred geometry is that connection to God and to source, because geometry is vibration and patterns, is numbers, is frequency that is in a visual form. And working with the geometry tools is so powerful. So that's something that I teach and share and work in different meditations or guidance that I do. It's for everyone. There's no dogma about it. The different types of geometry forms, Archangel Metatron, for instance, and the Merkaba and the different angelic order and the 7 rays and the Taurus field, like these are tools along with the tree of life, the chakras, and how do we engage with these tools so they're part of our everyday life? So that's part of the work that I do at Sesson Temple, with my own clients that I see one-on-one with soul attunement, which is something that, again, we just go deeper and like, what do you need? What is your soul showing me for you that we can tune into? What needs to be amplified, cleared, working with dimensional spirits that are lower that need to be cleared, or entity clearings, or activations. And some things are more practical, like what do I do with business? And is this a good partnership, or karmic contracts that are here? Some of it is super galactic. It's really depending on who comes. So some people want very practical work, and some people are ready because now we'll call it level 3. They're in like a different type of mastery initiation that they're able to do higher level soul work. So I can kind of operate in all of the realms, which is fun, and just moving through what people need. So those are kind of the offerings on more of the soul work. And then I'm also an artist. So I have an art studio here in Miami, and this little pendant is a small piece I make, but I make larger sculptural pieces with crystals, with metal, with resin, geometry base that brings this metaphysical world into a physical tool to harmonize your space or your temple or your home. And I sing and I do ceremony here and other places. So really we're artists and healers, and that has many modalities. And so I love to support people where they are, if they feel called, and only if they feel called, and know that channel is open. So if you need any support, you're welcome to reach out and connect.
Where can our listeners find you?
Yes, on Instagram, it's Peaceful Power, and there's a period between Peaceful Power. So at Peaceful Power on Instagram. My personal site is frequencyoflight.com, and then we have sessontemple.com. So that's where you can find me. You can find me around. Ask Sabrina. She knows my info as well. And what a gift, what a pleasure to sit with you. Finally, we've been talking about this, and in this beautiful studio space, this upgrade.
I'm so excited to be with you, and I've learned so much. I think we need to do a deeper dive into this at a later date, but I think for now it's been such a wonderful conversation and an enlightening one, and I hope that it sparked something in our listeners to be more open for and to recognize the divinity in themselves and to explore their own gifts and how they can share that with the world. And hopefully we've inspired that. So thank you, Vilina, for being here, for sharing your gifts with us. And maybe we should have you do a transmission. Can you do a live transmission?
Sure.
Yeah, wait, let's do that.
Like a light language transmission?
Yes. Can you actually define light language for...
Oh, yeah. Light language is just soul language. We can call it our energetic blueprint, our frequency, our unique frequency that isn't constrained by like an English language, or it's our soul language when we really connect to who we are. And it's also very healing. And when you work with it more and kind of unblock it, yeah, it becomes its own art form. So I will share a very soft, light message coming from my higher self to everyone listening, if that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just gonna breathe for a moment and take a second here. Ishaya Urehi Isara Unahi Areya Areya Isara Unehi Isara Unehi Isarata Ikeantaru is Ient Idia Sarama Ikarantoru is Aro Ikianta. Thank you, thank you, thank you for receiving that.
Thank you. I didn't want that to end. That was so special.
Thank you, Sabrina. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for our team here that's supporting in the recording. Thank you to the studio. Thank you, dear.
Thanks for tuning in to Binah Says. Is that it? That's it. Wow.
Yay.
You blew me away there. I'm like flustered.